Hey there friends, how's it going? Richard here. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for checking out this video. Thanks for checking out the channel. Anyways, want to hop on here and share some thoughts. If you're debating between a Model 3 and a Model Y, you may want to pay attention because I'm going to dive into my experience 24 hours now with the Model Y while my Model 3 is in the shop. Tesla Model Y. All right, so I've shared before that I'm the owner of a 2020 Model 3 long range, what other spec am I missing? With acceleration boost. Anyways, picked up the car about 2 months ago. It's approaching 2 months ago now. Love it. Lots of space, so much fun to drive. Again, you know, if you drive an electric vehicle from a gas vehicle, the experience is so much different, and I don't think there's another vehicle quite like a Tesla. Out there. Anyways, I'm a Tesla enthusiast. So since picking up the Model 3, I've been thinking, man, like the Model 3 has been so great. I wonder, maybe I should trade this in and get a Model Y. And what would you know, luck would have it that your thoughts become your reality. I recently took my Model 3 in for service. There was a leak in the trunk area, something that Tesla owners, Model 3 owners have reported before, and hopefully that repair comes out well and quickly. But I got to the service center and they gave me an Uber service pass to get to travel throughout the day, work and whatnot. But I told the service rep, hey, you know, I've got to go to I've got a lot of driving to do today for work. Got to go to Long Island, then to my office in Queens, and back somewhere else, and then if I have to come back here, it's gonna be more than $200. Even one ride alone was about $120. So she said, let me see if I can get you a loaner. And what do you know? She hooks me up with a Model Y long range with full self-driving. The car's name was Batman. I didn't change it. It's actually white. Originally white, but someone, I guess whoever owned it, covered it with like plastic, dipped it in black. Nice looking car. So after driving this car now for and having it in my possession for about 24 hours, I wanted to share with you some, I guess, let's go grows and glows. The Tesla Model Y versus the Tesla Model 3. So if you're familiar with it, you know that the Tesla Model 3 has the same design, nothing different here. It's so familiar, which is really nice. You've got the center touchscreen, all the controls and door buttons are the same. All that's fine. So there's no difference between the 3 and the Y in that aspect. It's on the interior of the Model Y where it starts to shine. You've got this all panoramic roof that goes straight from the windshield, basically his headliner, all the way without any brakes to that headliner in the rear. In the Model 3, there's a brake, a bar that cuts across right in the middle, but this one's goes all the way across. Space in here is tremendous. The Model 3, again, I feel like has a lot of, it just feels roomy, especially up front. For the 2 seats in the car. The rear can feel cramped. This one, again, the Model Y is higher up, so you don't have people who are sitting in the rear. It just feels like more room, more thigh support. Your legs aren't at as much of an angle. Yeah, there's an unbelievable amount of space in this rear. All right, so if I were to put my bag, just so you get a sense of spatial, that's a book bag, so it can probably fit, you know, if you were taking a trip, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 book bags laying flat, and then whatever on top. There's huge amounts of space, and then your under deck space goes really deep. I've got essentially from the tip of my finger to my elbow touching the bottom. So that's how much deep it goes. So much space in the rear of the Model Y. So my first grow or constructive criticism of the Model Y is the rear view. The first thing that I noticed when I stepped foot in this car is, and I looked into the rear view mirror, I realized this is the most narrow and small rear view that I've ever experienced in my life. And it's a result of the slope of the rear liftgate. It slopes pretty acutely and dramatically, and so that's what you're looking out into. I've never been in a car where, again, the rear view is less than the full mirror. I'm guessing it wasn't perilous. I didn't feel in danger anytime. It took some getting used to. But just again, if you're someone who likes observing, seeing traffic, where it's coming from at all times, I do. I'm always checking my mirrors. This just felt really, really small. A second gripe that I've had with this car so far is the fit and finish. Lots of owners of the Model Y have criticized the fit and finish. I'm not one to notice, I'm not trained to notice gaps, and I don't see anything like really dramatic gaps within the car, the interior, the exterior. That's not what I'm like annoyed with right now using this car. What I am annoyed with is that it feels like it's just not put together tightly. If you've ever been or remember being in a school bus, or even here in New York City, like a city bus, every time that bus goes, especially over a sewer cap, a bump in the road, a pothole, this thing feels like something is loose. It's like something's out of whack and it's vibrating and whatnot. So it's not so much there are gaps or things missing and things not aligned. It just feels like I'm in an old school bus or a city bus, and it's just things are wobbly and shaky. Unlike the Model 3, the Model 3, at least my Model 3, and I'm fortunate that it feels really tight, really put together. I'm not like concerned that something, if I push it real hard or I turn real hard, that it's gonna fall apart. And I don't think it's gonna happen in this car either. It just feels like it's just not really welded together or tightened. You know, all the bolts were tightened to max torque or so. It just feels a little loose for my liking. I like cars in the past that I've had, just I want them to feel really tight, really controlled, and this one just feels like an old school bus. Not that it's whining or not that there's a lot of noise coming out of it. It just feels like there are some weak points in the car, I'll put it that way. The only other thing that comes to mind as a criticism of the Model Y versus my Model 3 is the acceleration, the punchiness of the car. I understand that the Model Y is larger, right? Just bulkier, weighs more. But I didn't think that the acceleration would be that dramatically different. My Model 3 long range with acceleration boost punches, I mean skyrockets, off of stop signs, off of lights, whatever it is, on ramps, onto parkways and whatnot. It flies off when I step on the accelerator, whereas this car, there's like a gentle curve. It's just, so far when I've slammed the accelerator, and I've slammed it a few times, even with people in the car just to show them, it's like a gentle, I've never been pushed back into my seat quite like I have been in my Model 3. And again, I understand this is a larger car, more weight. I don't think this has, I didn't see any acceleration boost as an option on this car. It does have full self-driving, which, oh gosh, that's a totally other video that I'll go on. But yeah, the punchiness of the Model 3, I much prefer over this. This is much smoother, much gentler, but you just don't get that same effect that you do with, a car that goes 0 to 60 in like I think with acceleration boost, my car is rated to hit 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. I'm assuming that this is something like 5.6, which is, who would think 2 seconds means that much in the experience, but it is dramatically different. And I guess coming from a Model 3, it's a little disappointing, because I kind of expected the Model Y to have the same punch when you hit the accelerator, but it just doesn't. So yeah, that for me is a little criticism. So with that, just some final thoughts. If you're in the market for an EV and considering the Model 3 or the Model Y, here's some things that I would share. Again, the Model Y is just really spacious. You sit on top of the road, it's comfortable. I never feel unsafe even pushing it as fast as I wanted to. Again, the interior is great. I love the roof, the one piece panoramic roof. That's pretty cool. The look of the car, again, I really enjoy. It's grown on me over time. Some criticism that I have, again, the rear view mirror. If you're used to like big rear view mirrors, you're someone who buys that $10 or $15 extra mirror to add extra space, you're gonna absolutely loathe looking at this rear view mirror, because the space is so tiny because of the slope of the window on the rear door. That's one thing. Two, again, hopefully Tesla has improved this over time, but the fit and finish, and again, I'm not necessarily speaking just to gaps or so. I just can't observe those. What I'm talking about is the feel of the car. It feels like there may be, I don't know, I don't know, I don't want to call it structural integrity, because I know the car is structurally has structural integrity. It just feels like as you go over bumps and sewer caps or whatever it is, where they're doing construction, this thing shakes and sounds like an old school bus, and which is contrary. The Tesla Model 3, I never experienced anything quite like that. So that's another criticism. And then finally, the acceleration, maybe compared to a traditional vehicle, and it's been 2 months now, so I don't even remember what accelerating in a gas vehicle felt like. But the acceleration in here isn't as punchy as the Model 3. Again, yeah, I've got to account for increased weight, height of the vehicle, and also the Model 3 that I have has acceleration boost. But as I was driving this vehicle, I missed the punchiness, the zip off with the Model 3 that I get off of stop signs, lights, and then going on and off ramps. It's a really enjoyable experience to be able to have that much torque within it. So if someone were to ask me for a recommendation between the Model 3 and Model Y, I would say this much. If setting budget aside as well, if you have the need for space, go with the Model Y. Obviously, like, there's so much space in here. Passengers in the rear seat, the second bench, would be much more comfortable. There are two configuration, 5-seat and 7-seat. 7 seats probably just for little kids, not really for adults. But there's so much cargo space in the trunk area. So if you're someone who's always with kids or so, a larger family, and you want that extra space, go with the Model Y. Otherwise, I think the driving experience in the Model 3 is actually better. And I'm not saying that just because I own the Model 3. It just, the driving dynamics feel sportier, feel tighter. I don't feel the same problem. The three criticisms I had with this Model 3 so far, of the rear view mirror, of the fit and finish, the sounds that it makes as you drive the car, and also the acceleration, those are perfect, absolutely stunning on the Model 3. I've never looked at the rear view mirror and said, man, that's not a lot of vision that I have to my rear, or I don't hear sounds coming out of the car as I'm driving it. It feels like, oh, it's an old school bus. And then finally, again, the acceleration on the Model 3 puts people in the back of their seats. It feels like a roller coaster, especially with acceleration. So again, if you're tossing and turning between a Model 3 and Model Y, my recommendation would probably be for a Model 3, unless the space really mattered to you. In that case, if you're a family or so, then the Model Y would be an absolute great solution. It's a beautiful car. It drives really well. It's so much better than a traditional vehicle anyways, so it'll be an upgrade from that. But between the Model 3 and Model Y, right now my vote's for the Model 3, unless if and when kids or something like that, my family grows, then I'll be looking at the Model Y or the Model X, who knows. Anyways, hopefully you found this helpful, enjoyable. If you're looking to buy a Tesla, be sure to use my link in the description below, also somewhere here. Why? Because both you and I will get 1,000 free, yes, 1,000 free supercharger miles. If you have charging at home, that's great, but when you're on the road, 1,000 free miles gets you very far. Or if you're like me, rely on the superchargers for everyday driving, guess what? For me, that's like 3 weeks of charging. So super great. And if you do that, I'd super appreciate you. With that, go for it. Till next time, take care, be well. Bye for now.